Thomas the Tank Engine has made many wonderful friends on the island of Sodor. Thomas has a special memory for each time he's made a new friend. Learn more about Thomas and his friends. Join Thomas as he remembers each meeting by watching a video clip and then answering a question. When you have answered the question correctly by choosing A, B, or C, you can learn a little bit more about Thomas's friends. Are you ready to play? Great! Here's the first clip.
One day, Edward was in the shed where he lived with the other engines. They were all bigger than Edward and boasted about it. "The driver won't choose you again," said Gordon. "He wants strong engines like us." But the driver, a fireman, felt sorry for Edward. "Would you like to come out today?" "Oh, yes, please," said Edward. So they lit his fire, made lots of steam, and Edward puffed away.
When Thomas first met Edward, someone felt sorry for Edward and gave him the chance to puff around the island. Who felt sorry for Edward? A. Thomas, B. Sir Topham Hatt, or C. the driver and the fireman? Correct! The driver and the fireman felt sorry for Edward because he was getting teased by the other engines and gave him a chance to puff around the island. Edward is the number 2 blue engine. He's the wisest engine on Sir Topham Hatt's railway. Edward is kind and a good friend to everyone. When the other engines misbehave, Sir Topham Hatt turns to Edward in order to calm everyone down and keep the island peaceful.
One day, Thomas was on his way to High Farm when Rosie stopped beside him. Rosie was a cheerful, chirpy little tank engine. She was always pleased to meet Thomas. She liked him so much that she wanted to be just like him. So she tried to copy him. She tried to wheesh the way he did. She even tried to whistle like Thomas. It made Thomas cross. "Hello, Thomas," puffed Rosie brightly. "What are you doing?" "It's Alice's birthday," chuffed Thomas. "I want to get all her presents up to High Farm in good time."
When Thomas first met Rosie, where was he going? Was Thomas on his way to A. the quarry, B. Brendam Docks, or C. High Farm? Good answer! Thomas was on his way to High Farm when he first met his engine friend Rosie. Rosie is a tomboy tank engine, feisty, fun, and very free-spirited. She idolizes Thomas and wants to copy his every move. While this sometimes drives Thomas crazy, he has come to realize they can be really useful engines together.
Everyone argued with Henry. "Look, it has stopped raining," they said. "Yes, but it will begin again soon," said Henry. "And what would become of my green paint with red stripes then?" Thomas pushed and puffed and pushed as hard as ever he could. But still Henry stayed in the tunnel.
When Thomas first met Henry, Henry did not want to come out of the tunnel. Why not? A. He was scared. B. He didn't want to get his shiny coat of paint wet. Or C. He liked being in the tunnel. That's correct! When Thomas first met Henry, he stayed in the tunnel because he didn't want to get his shiny new coat of paint wet. Henry is the number 3 green engine. He is a long and fast engine and has a very distinguished look. He tends to be a little high-strung and a bit of a worrier. He's one of the fastest, hardest working engines on the island.
Today, he was especially excited. He was going to take a party of vacationers to see Coldy Caves. But Mr. Percival, the narrow gauge controller, had some bad news. "The machines at the main coaling plant have broken down. Sir Topham Hatt needs coal until they are mended." Mr. Percival told Duncan and Rusty to bring coal down from the mine in the hills. Then Thomas will take it to the coaling plant, he said.
When Thomas first met Duncan, what cargo did Duncan have to trade out for his passengers? Was the cargo A, jars of jam, B, coal, or C, rocks from the quarry? Great job! Duncan had to trade out his passengers to carry a load of coal. Duncan works on Mr. Percival's narrow gauge railway. He always means well, but sometimes he'll just puff along the rails without a plan. Duncan may have his head in the clouds, but he has a big heart and would do anything to help out other engines.
Well, Thomas, he said, I've heard all about it and I'm very pleased with you. You're a really useful engine. James shall have some proper brakes and a new coat of paint, and you shall have a branch line all to yourself. Oh, thank you, sir, said Thomas. Now Thomas is as happy as can be. He has a branch line and 2 coaches called Annie and Clarabelle. He puffs proudly backwards and forwards with them all day.
What did Thomas receive upon his first meeting with Annie and Clarabelle? Did Thomas receive A, a new branch line, B, a new coat of paint, or C, a new whistle? That's right! Thomas was rewarded with a new branch line when he met Annie and Clarabelle because he proved to be a really useful engine. Annie and Clarabelle are Thomas's faithful coaches who help him carry passengers around the island of Sodor. Annie only carries passengers while Clarabelle is a composite coach. She has 2 sections, one for passengers and the other for luggage.
Toby made the silly cars behave even better than Thomas did.
Hey, you!
At first, Thomas was jealous, but he was so pleased when Toby rang his bell and frightened the policeman, they've been firm friends ever since.
When Thomas and Toby first met, why did they become good friends? Thomas and Toby became good friends because A, Toby told a funny joke, B, Toby tooted his whistle and startled the policeman, or C, Toby helped Thomas deliver some cargo. Terrific answer! Thomas and Toby have been close friends since Toby tooted his whistle and startled the policeman. Toby is the number 7 Brown Tran engine. He's square-shaped and always happy to work. Toby is usually found on the quarry line with his faithful coach, Henrietta.
New engine had arrived and he wanted to say hello. The engine was beautiful, with shiny paintwork and a gleaming brass dome. Thomas, meet Emily. Hello, Emily. Hello, Thomas. Emily, collect your coaches. You and your driver must learn the line. Yes, sir, she answered. Thomas was impressed.
How did Thomas feel after he first met Emily? Thomas felt A, sleepy, B, impressed, or C, curious. Well done! Thomas felt impressed the first time he met Emily. Emily is a beautiful emerald green engine with shiny paintwork and brilliant brass fittings. She can be a little bossy and thinks she knows best, but is always ready to help a friend.
At the station, all the passengers were talking at once. They were telling Sir Topham Hatt what a bad railway it was. But when Thomas came back, they saw how sad he was and couldn't be cross. He was coupled to the train, and this time he really pulled it. Afterwards, the other engines laughed at Thomas and said, "Look, there's Thomas who wanted to pull a train, but forgot about the coaches."
Just before James met Thomas, what did Thomas pick up from the station? Did Thomas pick up A, passengers, B, coal, or C, boxes of apples? Wonderful answer! Thomas Thomas had to couple up and pull a passenger coach before he met James. James is the number 5 red engine. He has a fine scarlet coat and brass dome and thinks of himself as a really splendid engine. Occasionally, this leads to misguided ideas about the sort of work suitable for such a distinguished engine. This has sometimes landed James into trouble.
Then Henry came by, hissing as usual. Wheesh went Percy. Henry jumped and ran back to the shed. How beautifully you wheeshed him, laughed Edward. I can't wheesh like that. Oh, said Percy, that's nothing. You should hear them in the workshop. You have to wheesh loudly to make yourself heard. Next morning, Thomas arrived. Sir Topham Hatt sent for me. I expect he wants help, he said to Edward. Shh, here he comes, replied Edward. Well done, Thomas. You've been quick. Listen, Henry Gordon and James are sulking.
Just before he met Thomas, what did Percy do to Henry? Did Percy A, wish Henry with steam, B, spray Henry with water, or C, tell the engines a story? You're correct! Percy wished Henry with steam. Percy is the number 6 green engine. He's the youngest member of Sir Topham Hatt's railway. Percy is Thomas's best friend and his favorite job is delivering the mail. He is always happy to help out other engines no matter what.